Hello everyone, welcome back to Happy Trails and Highway Tales. Today's video is titled Solar Ready Travel Trailers, What the Dealer Doesn't Know or Won't Tell You. We're going to get into that in just a few minutes, but I want you to stick around to the end of the video because we're going to have lots of tips and tricks at the end that you're not likely to find anywhere else. I've been following travel videos for quite a while and there's a lot of good information out there. But some of the things I'm going to share with you in this video I just haven't seen. And I think it's going to be very helpful to you. And I'm going to try to keep it so that we're not talking over your head about solar, and I'm not talking down too much to people who know a little bit about solar. A happy medium. You may want to grab a piece of paper, pause right now maybe to get ready to take some notes, or you can just rewind the video and watch it as many times as you need. There's going to be some helpful things in there that you'll just want to jot down or remember. So let's get started. Not so fast, I almost forgot. We're also going to talk about some very cheap alternatives for solar, things that are easy to set up that anyone can do. And I'm going to do a comparison with a few different brands, and we're going to talk about the benefits and the downsides of each brand. I have some experience with one particular brand and some knowledge of another, and then the third one not so much, but we're going to look into that. And if any of you have experience with these other brands that we're going to talk about, feel free to chime in the comments below and tell me about your experience and what you know about it. And just as a full disclosure, I don't have any affiliation with any brands or services mentioned in any of our videos at this point. So now let's get to it. Okay, we are on the outside of my travel trailer and it's a little windy. I hope the wind noise is not too bad. We're going to walk right over here to the front and we're going to notice that right here it says solar on the side, portable solar kit, rated for 20 amps. Now, many of you that have been shopping for travel trailers recently have probably noticed these solar connections, and sometimes there'll be a sign on the travel trailer that says solar ready. Now, what does that mean exactly? Does it mean that you've got a full solar setup? In most cases, 90% of the time or more, no. It just means that you have a connection where you can plug in solar to your camper. But then you need to know how much solar can I put in here. Well, on this one here it tells you it's rated for 20 amps. So any portable solar kit rated for 20 amps or less with an MC4 connector can plug right in here. But there's a little bit more to it than that. You also have to have a charge controller to regulate the charge so you don't overcharge the battery. And let's take a look at a couple charge controllers. We'll start at the battery itself. I have placed one inside the battery box. And right here, this is the charge controller. And you can see that my battery bank is right now at 12.8 volts. Now, what I have is a set of Harbor Freight solar panels sitting here. They come as a kit, and there's 4 panels in a kit. Each panel is 25 watts, so the kit is a total of 100 watts. And you see the cables coming off the back. And if you look here, you'll see all the cables feed into a connector that drops them down to one line. That one line runs to your charge controller. It plugs in right here. And then you have your other cables coming out of the charge controller with these alligator clips on the ends. You hook one to the negative side and one to the positive side. And you're set up. Now, with this setup, I am not plugged in right here at the MC4 connector. And you may ask why not. Well, if I set up some different adapters, I could plug in there. But my charge controller is not rain or waterproof. And right now I don't have a good way to have the charge controller inside the compartment and then have the cables run outside to plug in here. So I just chose, while I'm set up here, to just have them alligator clipped right to the post on the batteries, and I just cover them with the lid. An alternative to that would be to buy something like a Renogy Suitcase kit, portable solar kit. It folds up into like a small suitcase, like with its own carry bag, and it comes two ways. On the back of the panels, it has a built-in charge controller so that you can regulate the charge on the batteries, or you can buy the kit without the charge controller, and then you can install your own charge controller if you prefer a different type. So it's going to be priced differently according to whether it has the charge controller or not. So let's talk about the Harbor Freight kits for a moment, and then we'll talk a little bit more about the Renogy kits and what you get for your money and how they work. Well, this Harbor Freight kit, they're fairly popular among beginners. I have some of these panels on my shop out back. I've been experimenting with Harbor Freight solar for about 3 years now, and they've worked great for me. This kit right here you can get on sale with a coupon for $149. The panels have these legs that tip out so you can elevate the panels, and it comes with all these accessories. Has two lights that are 12 volt DC, and you can see there in the picture the charge controller and some accessory cables. It does not include batteries. As I said, it's a 100 watt power kit. It says 2 times more power because their original kits were only 45 watts. Here we have a sample of the lights that come in the kit. Now, I actually ordered this light from Renogy Solar, but they're pretty much the same thing as what comes in the Harbor Freight kits. And I think I don't remember how much I've paid for it, maybe $10 or $12, maybe less than that. But you just plug it right in to one of these 3 outlets on your charge controller, and then this top red button here turns on the light. You also have a switch right here where you can switch the light on and off. And you can see there's plenty of cord here. I think it's 22 feet long. So that is an alternative source for DC lights. And we're going to talk more about that, how you can conserve your batteries on your RV with different lighting options. And that's in some of my tips that we'll have at the end of this video. As I was saying about one of the differences in the Harbor Freight kit and the Renogy kit is the Harbor Freight kit is not a folding suitcase panels. It's actually 4 individual panels. And here you can see in the box I have the individual packing materials. There are 4, I'm sorry, let me turn. There are 4 cardboard sleeves that the panels pack up in. If you have enough basement space in an RV, you could conceivably pack these panels up in the original packaging, slide them in there, kind of maybe brace them up so they don't shift around, make sure nothing's going to slam into them that might break them. And this could be a way to go. It's inexpensive, $149. Here on the table you'll see some of the accessories that come, the wiring accessories, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. But with the Renogy set, it's foldable. You just take it out of the bag, you unfold it, you pop it up, you plug it in to that port on the RV right here, and you're set up. As long as your Renogy set has the charge controller mounted on the back, and that Renogy charge controller is water resistant, maybe even waterproof. And it's on the back side of the panel, so the way the panels tilt back, it typically will not get wet. Let's talk about another difference between the Harbor Freight panels and the Renogy panels. As I said, the Harbor Freight panels are relatively inexpensive, $149 for the kit and all the items you see here on the box, except for like the battery down here in the picture. I flipped the box around so we can see some more information. The Renogy kit without a charge controller is a little over $200. With the charge controller installed on the back, I believe it's $273. But it's as simple as take it out of the bag, prop it up on the ground, plug it into your camper, and you're set. Now, with these, you have to set up each individual panel. They do come with metal connectors that connect the top and the bottom to make one complete unit. But the size of it makes it a little bit more difficult to move around. So you have to move one panel at a time if you need to move them. Whereas with the Renogy kit, you can just pick up the whole kit. You can even fold it, move it, and then unfold it and set it back up. And it packs up a lot easier. So it's a matter of price versus functionality. And something else to note about these Harbor Freight kits is they are amorphous panels. That means that even in shade, they will produce some power. So if you look at the top of these kits, you'll see a little blue light that's shining, a little LED on each one. We are in the shade now, but they're still producing power. Now, I cannot attest to how efficient they are in the shade, but this is a benefit. If you have some shade, some tree limbs or cloudy days, you may not get, maximum or real effective power out of them, but you'll get something. And something is always better than nothing. A note about their energy kits is, I'm not sure if they're amorphous, they are, what do they call them? It's still a type of panel that will produce power in the shade. So you don't lose anything there with the Renogy Suitcase kit. And I think they have some different size kits besides the 100-watt kit. They also, I think, have a 50-watt and maybe a couple of others, different sizes. But the one thing you want to pay attention to is that you do not exceed the 20 amp rating at your connection there on your RV. Okay, getting back to our Harbor Freight panels. Harbor Freight also sells little solar batteries. You can see a picture here. They usually cost about $70. And Harbor Freight, if you know anything about them, they always have sales going on, coupons, and I typically get those batteries for my shop for about $55 or so. Also, as you can see here, Harbor Freight makes a hub where you can connect multiple sets, and then you can use one line coming out to go to your battery. Now, if you're going to plug this into your port on the side of your solar ready camper, you have to be careful that you do not exceed the 20 amp rating. This set, the charger controller that comes with it, I think it says it's rated at 10 amps. I saw a video where a guy opened one up, and the fuse inside of it was actually a 20 amp fuse. And it was a blade fuse, but it was soldered in. So I don't know if the paperwork is just inaccurate or if they play it safe by saying it's 10 amp. But you could connect up to 4 of these kits together through a hub, but you would probably have to connect directly to the battery, as I've done currently with my set, rather than through the port. Okay, what I have here is another Harbor Freight product. It is a folding suitcase type solar panel, and it may not be quite as big as it looks in this video, but it's only 13 watts, and it was rather pricey for the amount of wattage you're getting. I think it was about $70. It does have a fairly long cable on it, and it's capable of being attached to both 12 volt and 24 volt systems. You can see the switch here. Now, I don't want to get over top anyone's heads about 12 volt systems and 24 volt systems. So let's just stick with 12 volt for now, because that's mostly what most of you will have. And then I have this original charge controller that came with another kit that I had bought from Harbor Freight. And it is good for up to a 100-watt kit. And I think it says it's rated for 7 amps, which is well under the 20 amp limit on my solar ready travel trailer. Now, I have it plugged in. This wire runs to this MC4 connector. And then what you would do is you would run another MC4 connector wire out from here to there, and you would be charging your batteries. It's that simple. Now, this little 13-watt kit is not going to do you a lot of good when you're boondocking. You could keep a trickle charge, actually a little better than a trickle charge, on your battery pack with this thing if you just needed to kind of keep the batteries charged up if you're going to be somewhere for a while. If you're using a lot of propane and cooking with your stove, not using a lot of lights, it'll just keep your battery topped off. You also can charge phones and other items you may need to keep charged with this panel here. And I'm going to also show you some other options for that as well. Oh, and something else to keep in mind, something that I should have mentioned earlier, is that all these setups that I'm showing are not intended for like long-term or hardcore boondock camping. I mean, you could boondock for a while with this type of setup if you're very careful with your electricity usage, and we're going to share some tips with you later to show you how to do that, so you could get the most out of a setup like this and a solar ready travel trailer. But first, let's talk about this little guy right here. This is a small panel that is intended just to do a trickle charge. You can use it on a vehicle, a boat, an RV. it's mostly used for like if you're going to be parked, if you set your RV out in the backyard or your boat, or if you have a vehicle that sits for a long time, you can plug it into a 12-volt outlet. It also has MC4 connections for connecting that together. So yeah, basically that's just a trickle charger. You're not going to charge up a battery bank and live off grid with that thing. So just know that if you decide to get one of these, it's just more or less so that you don't wake up one day and have a dead battery in your vehicle. And it can be useful. You just need to decide whether or not it's something you could use. And now, as you can see, I have a table full of goodies here. And this is where we start getting into the little tips and tricks. How to conserve energy while you're boondocking so that your RV batteries go a long way. I apologize for all the traffic noise behind me. I am right next to the road, and there's just not much I can do about that for now. First of all, let's talk about this little guy. It folds up, and there's different makers that make these things. This one came from Harbor Freight, and I was kind of leery about how it would work. And basically you just take like any phone charging cord, you plug it into the USB port there, plug the other end of your phone. And I discovered that when I laid this on my porch the other day to test it, my phone was laying out in the sun and it got really hot. I came back to check it and my phone screen said battery too hot to charge. So I left the little panel here in the sun. I took the phone in, let it cool down a little bit. I brought it back out, plugged it in, put the phone in the shade and covered it with a white cloth to help keep it cool. And this little panel charged my phone all the way to the top, no problem. So it does work. It won't work great in cloudy or shady conditions, but it could be handy. So if you don't want to like be drawing on your power in your camper, travel trailer, RV, whatever, drawing off your RV batteries for every little thing like charging phones, laptops, and that sort of thing, this could be a good option to help save some of that power. And as I mentioned earlier about this 13-watt folding panel set, it could be a good option also for charging up devices. It folds flat, hardly takes up any space at all. It's not very thick at all. It's just a couple of pieces of glass with some plastic around it. The legs fold in on the back. So when you fold it up, close it up, it's only maybe 1.5 inches thick. Another good option for conserving power on your RV battery is this little guy right here. This is called a Viking, well, it's a jump box battery source. As you can see, it's got jump cables. You can jump a vehicle with it, and it has ports on it, so you can run different items off of it. For instance, this light right here that I showed you earlier will plug in to the 12-volt out right here, and it'll run that light. I tested it and I ran that light for 6 hours and 12 minutes. So it's a handy little device to have. It also has a USB port right here, and then here's your where you put all your connections for charging for in. You can charge it from a 110 source. You can charge it, there's a cord somewhere where you can plug it into your vehicle while you're driving down the road, and it'll charge while you're driving. So you need to make use of that battery power while you're driving down the road. You're generating power from your vehicle anyway, so why not keep this thing charged up? And it comes in real handy if you have emergencies and you need emergency lighting out, around, or under. It's hard to get good lighting under, and these lights are bright. I think it's 40 watt equivalent, but it only actually draws about maybe 5 watts of power. And this is a 12-volt DC light bulb. You don't want to put AC light bulbs in these types of connections. What I have here is 2 ammo boxes full of batteries. And it looks like I have spent a ton of money on batteries. Everything you see in these boxes was free from Harbor Freight. They have coupons all the time for free batteries, AAA and AA. This is my AA box, this is my AAA box. I have batteries stashed in my nightstand, all around the house, different places. So what do I need so many batteries for? Well, Here we have more free items from Harbor Freight, except for this guy right here. These lights they give away all the time. They give these away, and these are not free, but they're cheap. They go on sale usually for about $4.99. You can find coupons for all this stuff, and I'll explain that later too, how to get the coupons just about any day of the week or any day of the year. Now, all of these come with batteries already in them, so that's a good start. Then if you have a couple of boxes of these free batteries, and I'm going to tell you how to get those for free besides, well, the coupon says you have to, with any purchase, you have to buy something. Well, they have these little 49-cent utility knives. Usually keep them up by the register. And if you're not purchasing anything else and you just want to get some free batteries, stop in, get a 49-cent utility knife. Oh, and use the 20% off coupon that's always available on your 49-cent utility knife. Then get the batteries for free. These little lamps are handy. You can hang them. You can set them on a table. You can adjust them up a little bit if you want just a little bit of light coming out the edges. You can put them in your bathroom at night, in your bedroom, on your nightstand. And that way you're not having to turn on lights and draw off of your RV battery power. It's just a matter of want to. If you want to conserve power and you're willing to pay $4, $5 for these little lamps and stage them in different places, or have them, all this stuff on this table will fit, except for the large panel kit here, will fit inside of a plastic milk crate with room to spare. I'm sorry about the traffic noise. These lights here have a hook on the back and a magnet. So you can hang them, you can stick them anywhere where a magnet will stick, and you can hang them outside. You can use these little guys, the little lamps, outside as well, on picnic tables. You can hang them just about anywhere that you can hang anything else. This flashlight here, I think I got it on sale for about $9 or so, maybe $7. This thing is a powerful light. It comes with batteries, but I've got lots of free batteries to power this thing. And it has an adjustment on it, so you slide it in and out, and it'll concentrate the beam in a narrow beam, really bright, and I can see 100 yards or better with that beam. Then you pull it back towards you, and it will light up my entire yard for a certain distance, probably 50, 60 feet. I can see everything across the whole swath, the width of my yard. I stash these little guys everywhere. All my toolboxes, all my jacket pockets, my glove box on my truck. I have them everywhere. They're free. I mean, why not? You don't have to be too far from a flashlight anytime when Harbor Freight is giving them away. Another handy item that is free from Harbor Freight is this multi-testing tool right here for just testing the voltage on your batteries and some other electrical tests you may want to do. Some people complain about them, saying they don't last or they break easily. Well, they're free. I have so many of them, I've been giving them away as gifts at Christmas and stuff. So if you're in Harbor Freight, pick one up. Use your coupon. I'm going to show you an app that you can download so you can get all these coupons and always have them, so you don't have to wait for the paper sales or the dates to come around. I got a little ahead of myself. I meant to mention with this guy here, you could also charge it off of solar. For instance, say with this small panel here, what I did was I ran my cable from the panel to the charge controller, and then out of the charge controller to this adapter, and then from that adapter to this wire that has this connector here on it, and then you would just plug it in to the 12-volt in right here, and that would charge your battery for you. So as I mentioned earlier, you can charge that from a household outlet, an inverter outlet, with your 12-volt adapter that comes with it. You can charge it in your vehicle, and you also can charge your phones. It comes with this cable with connectors for both Android phones and iPhones, and you can run these types of lights off of this 5mm port right here. So it's a handy little device. Wait for the coupons, or when they go on sale at Harbor Freight. I think it's about $59. And as I said earlier, you can also jump off your vehicle if you have a dead battery. So it's a real handy device to have, and it would really be nice to have 2 or 3 of them. Think of how many phones and laptops you could charge off of this and still have power to jump off your battery if you need it. Now let's talk about these battery chargers here. They will charge these rechargeable batteries from 9 volts. You have 9 volt connectors inside of here where you can charge 9 volt batteries. You can charge D batteries, C batteries, and AA and AAA. So if you're not inclined to keep a box full of batteries that are free, you could go ahead and get rechargeable batteries and a charger. Anytime you have access to 110 power, you can use these to charge up your batteries. If you're at a campsite with hookups, you may want to go ahead and get all your batteries charged up while you're there, so that when you're boondocking, you have fresh charged batteries. But if you happen to run out of charged batteries while you're boondocking, then you're going to have to find a 110 source to charge those back up. However, and I didn't get into inverters, and we can talk about those later, but if you have an inverter attached to your battery, it'll have a 110 outlet on it, at least one 110 outlet, so that you can run 110 or 115, 120 volt AC items. Now let's talk about that Harbor Freight app with all the coupons. Right here, this is what the app looks like. And you can see there are different categories. One says super coupons, one says 20% off and free, and then it says if you swipe extra coupons. Okay, there's your percentages off, and if you scroll down through here, you will see all of the free items. There's the little lights, there's the multi-tester, screwdrivers. A lot of the other items that I've showed you on the table here will show up in here. You just have to kind of watch, and they will appear. Then you have the extra coupons in this category. Let's go back to super coupons. That's your first category. Up here you'll see 3 bars. Touch that, it brings down a menu. It says uploaded coupons. If you select that, it'll have a list of coupons that customers have uploaded, and it's a long list. You can scroll through here for quite a while, and just about anything that is normally free with a purchase or anything else will be in here. So you don't have to wait for the paper sales to come out and wait for the dates. A lot of the expiration dates on some of these coupons are indefinite, or they may be a year or even 2 years out. So it's pretty handy. It also has a feature here. Let me see if I can find it. Well, let's just select something here. And these 20% off coupons are good on pretty much just about any item. There may be some exclusions you have to read on the coupon, but let's select that one. Let's say you want to go check out with this. You hit add to cart. Add to cart. Okay. Now it's in my cart. I can go up here and click on my cart, and there it is in my cart. So when I get to the cash register, I don't have to go through a gazillion coupons to find the one I was looking for. I just go right to my cart, and it's right there. You bring it up, and the clerk at the cash register can scan that barcode and get your 20% off. And that also works with all the other coupons, the free items, whatnot. You just put them in your cart. They work the same way. Now, this app is not made by Harbor Freight. An individual put this app together, but I got to tell you, it works, and it works great. It also has a feature where you can share it with other people. You can just send it to other people's phones. The little 3 bars I showed you on the menu there, you touch that, and it has the option to share with other people. You just put in their phone number and hit send, and it'll go directly to their phone. There are a couple other apps out there, but this one is the best. And if you look closely here, the icon, let's see if I get it to focus. The icon is the blue one there that says 25% off. there's another one next to it. It has a red box with an H in it. That's a Harbor Freight app also, but it's not as good as this one. That one just connects you to a lot of links online for Harbor Freight deals. But the first one there, and you may have to search for it. It may be a little bit of work finding it and figuring it out, but once you get it on your phone, you are set. So let's just recap for a moment. We talked about the Harbor Freight panels. They're inexpensive. They're a little bit bulky, maybe a little bit harder to store. The Renogy panels I talked about, you can go to Renogy.com and look at those, and they'd be a little bit simpler to hook up. They may cost a little more, but they do have a waterproof charge controller on the back of the panels. It just makes it so much easier, and I'll probably go with those as soon as I can get some. And oh, I was going to talk about the third type of panels. A lot of these RVs that say solar ready, you will notice when you go to the dealerships that many of them say ZAMP solar. That's Z-A-M-P, ZAMP. And it will say somewhere on here, use ZAMP solar only. Now, I can't think of any reason why you actually need to use only ZAMP solar. The thing you need to pay attention to is how many amps it's rated for. Just make sure you do not exceed that. Now, don't take me to the bank on that. There may be some reason why you can only use ZAMP solar when it says only use ZAMP solar. But from my knowledge of solar power, we're talking about electricity going from one spot to another. And as long as you don't exceed the cable ratings and the breaker ratings or fuse ratings, you should be fine. Again, I apologize for the road noise. So when you talk to dealers and you start asking questions, is this travel trailer actually solar ready? Does it have panels on the top? I actually did come across one where it had a panel on top and it had the ZAMP solar, but then the trailer next to it was the exact same trailer and it just had the connection. And I come to find out the one with the panel on top, it was just considered an add-on, an extra charge. But normally they don't come with the solar panel already on it. The dealership can get the panel for you and install it and charge you for it. But it's going to cost you a lot more than if you just get your own solar kit and plug it in. So I've come to find out that these salespeople with these solar ready travel trailers, they don't know a lot about them. They don't really know what they're talking about most of the time. I would say 90% of the time they don't. You may come across somebody who actually knows a little bit about solar and knows what they're talking about, knows the product. But in most cases, they just don't know. They've just been taught to pitch it to you. Oh yeah, it's solar ready. You know, you're ready to boondock. And if you don't know anything about solar, then you get all excited. And you may get out there thinking you have solar panels on top of your travel trailer, and you don't. And then for boondocking, depending on how long you're going to be out boondocking, the amount of solar you're going to need is going to vary greatly depending on your usage of power. Now, a lot of these travel trailers, only the lights and like the small LED things will run off of the batteries. Some require you to have a 110 hookup, like full hookups at a site, to run the TV and the outlets and that sort of thing. But if you get an inverter and install an inverter on your battery, basically all you're going to do is take the inverter and connect the positive cable to the positive terminal, the negative cable to the negative terminal, and then the inverter will have, you can put it inside of a space like this, and then it will have outlets where you can plug into that inverter and get 110 power. Now, inverters are a whole nother subject. I don't want to get too deep into it right now. I'm trying to keep this as simple as possible for just basic connections. And yeah, these Harbor Freight kits are a good basic connection, and Renogy is a good option. I just don't have any experience or knowledge about ZAMP. I think the ZAMP panels may be flexible type panels. You may have seen those, the flexible ones that are real thin. They're almost paper thin. They're made for like sailboats. And they may be good for RVs putting on the top, but I think you would have to seal them down somehow. Whereas, oh, that's another thing I wanted to talk about, is putting panels on top of your RV versus having a portable set like this. If you park somewhere where you have shade, or you just can't quite get your travel trailer into the sun or good sun for a good part of the day, This is a good way to go with portable panels. That way you can move them around. With panels that are on top of your RV, many times they are mounted flat on top, or you could put them on a framework with hinges and pins so that you can tilt them in one direction or possibly multiple directions. That way, no matter which way the sun is coming across, you can tilt the panels towards the sun. Now, if you're older and you don't want to be climbing up and down on top of your RV and tilting panels and worrying about having to move your RV to get in the sun, they have some pretty long leads on some of these portable kits. And that way you can just kind of move the panels around, get the panels in the sun, and enjoy the RV in the shade. Well, I hope that this has been helpful. This is my second video on my channel, and I'm still learning. And I plan to get some better equipment eventually for better video, better audio, and I'll try to plan better for the background noises such as cars, and you can hear the plane flying over now, the wind blowing in the trees. But anyway, stick with me as I learn, and I will be sharing more tips with you. And as we go on our maiden voyage, we're not sure when that's going to be exactly. We still have some things to do to get this RV ready for its first trip, and we have some obligations for the remainder of this year, so I'm not sure how much we'll use it this year. But we're going to do some day trips and different things that we plan to share with you. I have a lot of ideas already planned, so please like, subscribe, and make sure you hit the notification bell so you'll be notified of future videos. I am going to try to bring good quality content like this. Hopefully you found this to be good quality content, information that you can use. And if you find it educational, informative, as I said, just like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. And thanks again for joining us today at Happy Trails and Highway Tales.